You're welcome to our channel. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. I am Benjamin Amefle. I'm a legal practitioner practicing here in Nigeria, resident in Abuja. In this channel, we discuss Nigerian law. Everything about Nigerian law is what we discuss here. It's a solution point for legal issues. In today's video, we are going to look at how to celebrate marriage under the Act. How to celebrate valid marriage under the Act. In the previous video I uploaded, I explained that the first thing to be done is to obtain marriage certificate. So I urge you to go through that previous video I had earlier on uploaded and watch that video. You will know how to obtain marriage under the Act. Today we are going to discuss how to celebrate the marriage. In that video I explained that the fact that you have obtained marriage certificate by the registrar does not show that you are married. It only shows that one is qualified to go in the process of celebrating the marriage under the Act. Now, how is the marriage under the Act conducted? First, note that after obtaining this marriage certificate, the marriage has to be celebrated within 3 months of the issuance of the notice to marriage. Remember, any of the parties to the marriage can issue a notice in form of an application to marry under the Act. From the time that notice is given to the registrar of marriage till the time the marriage should be celebrated should not be more than 3 months. If it is more than 3 months, the process is invalid, and any marriage that is celebrated after then will be an invalid marriage. Take note of that. 2 is that for the purpose of celebrating the marriage can be celebrated in 2 places. It can be celebrated either in the registrar's office, in the marriage registry where the marriage certificate was obtained, or in the registered place or in the licensed place of worship. It can also be celebrated in a licensed place of worship. The Minister of Interior, which is the minister in charge of marriages, is empowered under the Marriage Act. Marriage Act is a law that regulates the celebration of marriage in Nigeria. Marriage Act, Cap M6, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004. That is a law that regulates the celebration of marriage in Nigeria. So the minister is empowered to license certain places of worship for the purpose of celebrating marriage. Now, after obtaining this marriage certificate, the couple can celebrate the marriage either in the registry, the marriage registry, or in a registered place of worship. It must be a registered place of worship. So if you are and this registered place of worship can either be a church or a mosque. Such church or mosque must be registered. There are a lot of people that go about and celebrate marriage thinking that they are wedded and their marriage will be protected. Even if you have marriage certificate and you go ahead and go to church that is established new, that doesn't have the license of the marriage of the minister in charge of marriage, such marriage is void. Take note of that. And even if in celebrating marriage in that registered place of worship, it must be celebrated, the officiating minister of the marriage must be a minister from that particular denomination. It must be a minister in that particular denomination that is licensed to celebrate marriage. Listen, it must be licensed, and the minister that will celebrate the marriage must be from that particular denomination, and must be a minister that is also recognized by that denomination. The next requirement is that that minister that is recognized by that denomination that is licensed to celebrate marriage must have a building. It must be, the marriage must be celebrated in a building that belongs to that denomination, and it must be a building known and licensed to be a place for celebration of marriage. So it is an invalid celebration of marriage for a church to leave its own place and go at another venue, hire a place or hire a hall that is not licensed and celebrate marriage. Such marriage is an invalid marriage. It's also not in tandem with the law for a church to hire a pastor or a minister who is not a member of that church to come and celebrate marriage. What I'm talking about not being a member of that church, it is not a member of that denomination. But if the person is from another branch of the same denomination, it is correct. But inviting a minister who is not a member of the denomination that is licensed to celebrate the marriage, that minister cannot celebrate a valid marriage. And that marriage must be celebrated in the church that is licensed for the purpose of marriage. Now, the next requirement is that before the minister celebrates this marriage, he must ensure that he has obtained the marriage certificate. He has a marriage certificate, and there is no lawful impediment known to him. There is nothing that is an impediment he knows that could stop that marriage. And that marriage has to be celebrated within the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Any marriage that is celebrated 7 a.m. is not a legal marriage. And anyone that is celebrated 7 p.m. is not a legal marriage. It must be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the door has to be open. You don't celebrate marriage in a closed door. After this marriage has been celebrated, any denomination or place of worship that is licensed to celebrate marriage always has another marriage certificate where they will fill, which contains the date the marriage is celebrated, the name of the minister that celebrated the marriage, the parties to the marriage, and the names and signatures of the witnesses to the marriage. Now, after the celebration of marriage, the minister that celebrated the marriage will fill those forms. Filling with the form, that is the date the marriage is conducted, the name of the minister that celebrated the marriage, the address where the marriage is celebrated, the names of the persons that celebrated the marriage, the witnesses, and all of them will sign it. It's in a duplicate. After it has been signed, then it is in duplicate. The minister of marriage, that is the minister that celebrated the marriage from a licensed place of worship, will now, within 7 days, transmit a duplicate of that marriage certificate to the marriage registrar in the marriage registry in the district where the marriage is celebrated. And the original of it will be given to the parties to the marriage. That is how marriage certificate is obtained. So there are two marriage certificates. There is a marriage certificate to be obtained before the marriage, and there's another marriage certificate that is obtained after the marriage. The first one is under Form C. The second one is Form E. So Form E, C, and E. Form C is before the marriage. It shows that the parties are qualified to marry. That is, they have fulfilled the legal requirement for marriage. And Form E certificate shows that they have indeed celebrated the marriage. That is how marriage under the Act is celebrated. Note that if the minister knows that there is any lawful impediment, or he does not see any marriage certificate, and he goes ahead to celebrate the marriage, he shall be liable for 5 years imprisonment. It's a crime. And anybody who knows that there is no compliance with the law and witness the wedding will also be liable to 5 years imprisonment. So it is better you do the right thing. A lot of people are committing offense. You see some church that started today, tomorrow they see members that want to wait, they say, they want to wait them. They are committing offense. And all the people that participated in that wedding are committing offense and can be arrested and prosecuted. And they can be prosecuted at any time. The fact that you celebrated the wedding and go scot-free does not mean you are scot-free. The marriage on its own is an invalid marriage. So it is better we learn all those things and do the right things in the right manner. In the subsequent videos, I will explain to you how to go about to obtain a license to celebrate marriage. That is, how to make the necessary application and go about obtaining the minister's license in your church, so that your church will be able to get the license to celebrate marriage, so that you don't go about celebrating invalid marriages. Because anybody who decided to go through the route of marriage under the act has a reason for that. If it turns out that it is time to reap the dividends of that marriage under the act, and the parties go to court for the court to enforce their rights, and it turns out that they didn't even have anything, that the marriage was not celebrated under the act, that the processes, that the conditions of the law were not met, it will not be good. Because in many instances we have gone to court where marriages, where parties intended to divorce or dissolve the marriage they thought had been celebrated under the act, but investigations show that there was no valid marriage. And if there was no valid marriage, the court will not have powers to even dissolve that marriage or to give any order on that marriage, apart from to declare that the marriage was invalid. And you don't even need to go to court to declare it invalid. What is invalid stands invalid right from the time it is celebrated. Thank you, and continue watching. Remember to subscribe so that anytime we upload subsequent videos on this issue, because this issue or this discussion is in series. We have a lot of things to discuss as to how marriage is celebrated and how marriage is not celebrated, and the crimes that are involved in wrongfully celebration of marriage. Thank you, and God bless you.